I want to use for a subject on today, strengthening your prayer life. Amen. Come on now. That's good. Strengthening your prayer life. And as we go through this season of restoration, on last week we learned a very valuable lesson. That every now and then we ought to pause and examine ourselves. That it's so easy for us to examine and evaluate others. But the challenge for us was to stop looking at the mote in your brother's eye and start focusing on that beam in your eye. And in that we learned that we should, number one, examine our conversation. When it comes to evaluating the character and conduct and condition of somebody else, we are so quickly to be judgmental. Talk about the way that they are, not even completely knowing the facts. And on last week, Jesus warned us that you have to be careful, man, when you're judging others. Because the same way that you criticize, condemn, and judge others, God gonna hold you to the same standards. And in that, we ought not be so quickly to be judgmental, because all of us have some faults. In that, we should also examine our character. Don't hold others to a standard that you're not trying to reach. Because the truth is, when we look at our lives, all of us have some skeletons in our closet. All of us, and all of them are not dusty. All of us have some things in our lives that we're just not proud of. All of us have walked in a way that we're just not proud of. So before we start to point out somebody else's flaws, we have to deal with our own disasters in our own lives. And then the last thing that we looked at in that was that we need to examine our correction. How can we be corrected? That is the beauty about God, that when you are a mess, God still allows you to be corrected. And the only way that we can be corrected is we have to allow God to work on our hearts, work on our tongue, work on our mind, work on our walk. It may be a painful process. It may even become uneasy. But if it's your desire to be better in life, you have to allow God to work on you. If you're trying to be a better person, you have to allow God to work on you. Be better as a Christian. Be better in your dealings with others. You have to allow God to search us and then work on us. For some of us, God has to perform surgery. Because there are some things that need to be corrected. And therefore, when God searches us, we need him then to fix us. But when you get to the book of Nehemiah, after you have took your pause and examined yourself, what Nehemiah gives us and shows us is that as we go on this journey, one thing that we must do is pray. It is pray. The way you connect the two books on this journey, in the book of Ezra, we were taught that you have to, number one, restore worship and worship God properly. That you don't have to come into the temple. All you got to do is construct an altar and worship God. Then in Ezra, we learned that we have to also make sure that we are conformed to the word of God. And the glue to keep all of that stuff together is found in Nehemiah, and that is prayer. Throughout the book of Nehemiah, there are 12 prayers recorded, 9 of them by Nehemiah, and that just lets us know that Nehemiah was a man that believed in prayer. In church, I believe that one of the deficiencies in our spiritual walk with God lies in our prayer life. Because the truth be told, it appears as if we have lost our passion for prayer. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Prayer is one of the most important aspects of our spiritual discipline. That in all that you do, you must pray. In his book, Celebration of Spiritual Disciplines, Richard Foster says that it's prayer that catapults us onto the frontier of the life we desire and the life that God has created for us. And all that means that in your prayer with God, you start to find out two things. You start to find out who you are and who God is in you. That in my prayer life with God, we have to make sure that I am being connected to God. And the problem with many of us is we have become so connected with the world that we have become disconnected from God. Yeah, I know I'm right because of all of the gadgets and gadgets that the world offers. Through technology, we have become so connected with God that in our prayer life, we have become disconnected from God. We know everything about what's going on in the world by way of our smart devices. And it's sad to say that our smart devices have now taken place of what prayer should be in our life. How do I know that? Because you check your phone more than you pray to God. No, I know I'm right. I know I'm right. You check and see who is texting. You check social media more than you fall down on your knees and pray to God. And all social media is doing is keeping you connected to the world. And we are so connected to the world that we have forgotten about who created the world. And I believe that this is so visibly seen even in the church. Because in the church, we see more people at business meetings than we do at prayer service. Yeah, I know I'm right. Next time we have one, count them. We pray every Wednesday, 8:30. And if you come to Bible study, you there for prayer. But when we have a business meeting, everybody show up. But if this is a house of prayer, then that should be our top priority when we gather. Is we shouldn't be so concerned about the bottom line. We should be concerned about our line that goes from here to God. Yeah. And I just believe that even when the church understands what prayer is, when an individual understands what prayer is, when a family understands what prayer is, then they will understand and see how life can be different. It can be different because prayer gives you the ability to face anything. Prayer gives you the ability to understand not only where you are, but what's going on around you. Prayer empowers you to stand strong in the midst of your circumstances. And that's good to know because there are going to be some times in your life where God ain't going to bail you out. There are going to be some times in your life when God won't deliver you when you want him to. There are going to be some times when God won't move when you want him to. And the only thing that you're going to have to sustain you is prayer. Somebody will know what I'm talking about because everybody here got a testimony that there was a time in my life when I had tried all the resources that I had. And everything I tried failed, and all I had left was prayer. And right there in my prayer life, I found out that it really is true that he may not come when you want him. Oh, but you're going to want him when he comes because he's going to always show up right on time. When I had to go through that surgery by myself, all I had was prayer. Mama couldn't help me. Daddy couldn't help me. My money couldn't help me. The only thing could help me was God. And right there, when I started praying, I got a little stronger. I got a little more confidence. I was a little more encouraged. And I am here today because God kept me through my prayer. Yes, sir. We know that when we look at life, some of us, marriage was a mess. Kids didn't get no better. I had a financial crunch I just had to endure. Life was a mess, but oh, thank God I knew how to pray. Yes, sir. I'm about to get happy right here in the midst of my introduction, because when I think about how good prayer is, and it's in my prayer that I stay connected to God, and in my prayer God talks to me, in my prayer God strengthens me, in my prayer God encourages me. I thank God that He gives us the privilege of prayer. I thank Him. I thank Him that He gives us that privilege. And this is what's so powerful about the text to me. Is that when I look at the text, I see that when Nehemiah faced a terrible time, he prayed. Y'all got to see that, and that should be encouraging all of us. That when you face a disaster in life, don't pick up the phone and call nobody. Pray. Don't try to figure it out on your own. Pray. Don't even call Reverend Davis. Pray. Yes, sir. When you look at that text, it's amazing to me because prior to this crisis, the Jews were in the midst of an amazing season of transition.
That's right.
They had just come out of captivity. That's right. God had just restored them to their homeland. They had rebuilt the temple. They got worship started. Everything was doing good. They confessed their sins, turned over their new life. They started following God's word. But here it is some 15 years later, and the word to Nehemiah is they are distressed. So that lets all of us know that it doesn't matter how much you worship. It doesn't matter how much you understand God's word. It doesn't matter how often you come to church. There will be some seasons in your life where you will be distressed. There will be some seasons. So all of us got to walk through that valley every now and then. All of us got a rough side of the mountain that we have to climb. But what we learn from the text is when you face those mountains, pray. Yes, sir. I like, because when Nehemiah got the word that what was going on, it said that they were being harassed. So you probably got to come to Bible study. I ain't got time to go into all that. But they were being harassed. They were being taken advantage of. Because there was a famine in the land, they had to start selling their stuff. And they didn't have the money to buy it back. And when they borrowed money, they faced inflation. And the inflation led them into slavery. For 15 years, they have been distressed. And the text says that when the word got to Nehemiah, it broke his heart.
Yes, sir.
Because after all of that, what else happened was the walls of their famous city had been destroyed. Now we're open to all type of attacks. And then Nehemiah prayed. In his prayer, three things I want to point out to help y'all in your regular prayer life. First of all, I want you to look at the place of Nehemiah's prayer.
All right.
The text says that when Nehemiah heard all of this, he didn't go call the king. It said he prayed. He didn't even write a letter to the leader of the Jews. It said he sat down and prayed. Y'all have to see this, because Nehemiah didn't make his way to the temple. He fell right where he was and prayed. Y'all didn't even get the message. Because that should have spoken to some of y'all today, because there are going to be some times you ain't going to have time to make it to the temple. There are going to be some situations in your life that won't give you the opportunity to make it to the sanctuary. But the good thing about God is you can stop right where you are and pray. Yes, sir. That should have touched some of y'all, because some of you need to know that there are going to be some times where you're going to try everything that you have done. You're going to talk to everybody that you could. You're going to read every book that you can. And then when you start to feel overwhelmed, The joy of talking and walking with God is God still gives us access unto him. But you got to look at the text and see, how do you gain access to God? Now, it's not just by coming to church. It's through your prayers. And you got to understand that, because you can come to church all you want and still not be connected to God. The way you become connected to God is through your prayers. So that there in your prayers that you have to build you an altar right where you are. And then God will come and see about you. And when you understand that, the picture that comes to my mind is, it's like God is playing double dutch with your circumstances. He's standing there at the edge waiting to jump in. But he ain't going to jump in until you call out for him and tell him to come in right now. And the reason some of y'all are struggling with the stuff that you're going through is because God is standing at the edge of his seat waiting to jump in your circumstances, and you won't open up your mouth and cry out to him. So you gotta cry out to God. When life becomes unbearable and you know, humanly speaking, I can't do nothing about my situation, that's when you ought to fall on your knees right where you are, make you an altar unto God, and pray. Yes, sir. Because there are times God just comes right where you are. Y'all know the story of the disciples on the boat, right? It said that they got scared because of the storm. And here comes Jesus walking on the water. But when you read Mark's gospel said that he would have passed them by had nobody not cried out. Y'all missed that. The reason Jesus is passing you by because you scared to cry out. And I got to tell somebody in the church today that Jesus is walking from pew to pew. And if you want him to help your situation, you got to open up your mouth and cry. Yes, sir. It ain't got to be no long prayer. It can be a short prayer. Peter showed us that when he decided he wanted to walk on water. When them storms got too bad and he started to sink, all he said was, Lord, help me. And now some of y'all in here right now, you ain't got to go into God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You just got to say, Lord, help me right where I am. Yes, sir. You ain't got to be in the church now, in your car, going from work. Lord, just get me there. That is a prayer. When you get your food, Lord, I thank you for it. I'm about to eat. That is a prayer. You got to pray unto God. Right where you are. Yes, sir. And somebody know that, because the saints of old used to always sing, Father, I stretch. That is mine. No other help I know. And I want to let you know that is a prayer. When you wake up in the morning, Father, I stretch my hand unto thee. When they get on your nerves, Father, I stretch my hand. When they don't like you, Father, I stretch my hand to you. Yes, sir. I ain't got to make it to the church house. No. I can pray right where I am. Yes, sir. You got to understand that, because the Lord will help you in the midst of your situation. Oh, but not only is the place of prayer important, but this is what I love, the persistence in this prayer. Yeah, many of us pray unto God when we face crisis situations. When there's a crisis moment, we want to cry out unto God. But when everything is good, our prayers are short. Sometimes we don't pray. But in Nehemiah's prayer in verse 6, Nehemiah said he prayed unto God day and night. He recognized that the Jews were in a devastating situation. And it was heart-wrenching enough, and one prayer just wasn't going to do it. So he said, Lord, I got to pray day and night. Paul said when he had that thorn in his flesh, he prayed to God more than one time. When you look at the life of Jesus, he prayed more than one time. And you got some of us that pray once a week. But what the text teaches us is you got to pray all the time. Day and night. When you really need the Lord to show up on your behalf, sometimes it requires you to pray more than one time. Sometimes it requires you to say more than just a prayer on today. Sometimes you got to pray to God all day long. You got to pray. You got to constantly stay in God's ear. Yeah. Now, I studied and looked for a biblical example to help me in persistence. And I hope you get it, because this is the idea that during the biblical days, when they wanted to carry a heavy load, they needed a beast that was able to go a long way without water.
All right.
That's where the camel come into play. But the camel was so tall that before the master could put a load on it, he would stand in front of the camel and make him bow down. And when he bowed down, the master just put a load on him. And as the camel would go about day from day, the environment and the weather would affect the load. And there were times the load would shift. So in the noonday, the master would get in front of the camel and make him bow down so he can straighten up the load. And as they would get their journey, when it came time for them to rest, the master would make the camel bow down so he can take the load up off. All I'm trying to get y'all to understand is that in the persistence of your prayer, when you wake up in the morning, you got to bow down, because the master got a load that he's about to put on you. And as you move about from day to day, when you get there at lunchtime, you're going to have to bow down, because somewhere your load has shifted. Some folk hadn't got on your nerves. Your money is funny. Things ain't working right, and you just need the master to straighten up your load. And when you get at home at nighttime, lay down in your bed, before you get there, you got to bow down and let the master remove the load. And can I let you know the reason some of y'all don't sleep well at night? Because you won't bow down and let him take the load off of you. You want to sleep with your load. But what Paul says is we ought to pray without ceasing. Every day you ought to pray. Every moment you ought to pray. Every step you ought to pray. Every way, every time you face anything in life, you ought to pray. Yes, sir. You ought to pray. That in the morning when I wake up, I know what I'm about to face at work. So I'm going to bow down. But this load I'm about to have. And when they say something to you, don't say nothing back. All that is God shifting your load. And you just need to bow down and letting him straighten it up. Now I got to warn you, sometimes you may have to bow down more than 3 times out the day. You may have to bow down 6 times in 1 hour, but you got to keep doing all you got to do so the Lord can straighten up your load. Yes, sir. In that thing, you can pray long prayers, short prayers, meaningful prayers, sincere prayers, because when you pray, the good thing is God dispatches angels to come and camp all around about you. And somebody in here know that the reason I'm here today is because when I prayed unto God, he sent an angel my way. And that's how I got through that terrible day at work. That's how I got through that terrible night at home. That's how I got through that financial struggle, because when I prayed, God moved. He moved on my behalf. Yeah, but then this is the last one. Not only you see the persistence in your prayer, but the shout is there's power in your prayer. Yeah, I ain't got to push that point because all of y'all know that there's power in prayer. In Nehemiah's prayer, when you get to verses 8 through 11, you'll see that Nehemiah start reminding God of his word. Lord, since you done said this to us, and it seemed like you done forgot about it, I just got to remind you. And in him reminding God, he just revealed the power of God. Yeah. He reminded God, Lord, you said, if we disobey you, you're going to scatter us. But you also said, if we turn back to you, follow your commandments, and do them, you're going to deliver us. Then he says, Lord, you have done it before, so I know you can do it again. And then what I like about it, he said, Lord, while I'm at it, work on the king so he can grant my request when I ask him. Nehemiah was confident in his prayer because he knew that God answers and hears prayer. Because we all know that prayer changes things. Prayer changes situations. Prayer changes circumstances. Because prayer is a thing that gives us the ability to look at life and say, though life knocks me down, I got a God that'll pick me up. Prayer lets me know that when I face my valleys, I got a God that says, though you walk through the valley, I'll be right there with you. I got prayers to know that when I face my mountains, I got a God that says all I got to do is speak to the mountain and it'll get up out of my way. When you talk about prayer, you got to know that there is power in prayer. Yes, sir. That God moves in our prayers. God not only hears, but he answers. Now you can't shout all the time on God answering prayer, because there's gonna be some times God answers ain't gonna sit well with you. There gonna be some times when God just gonna tell you no. There gonna be some times when God just said, hold up, not right now. You got to wait a while. But the beauty about prayer is prayer still changes things. Because when God says no, it's through your prayers that you get the strength to keep on moving. When God says not right now, it's through your prayers where you see that there's another option out there for me. God still moves through prayer. Because there is power in prayer. And I know I got a whole bunch of witnesses scattered throughout this congregation on today that can testify that there's power in prayer. That I know for myself what prayer can do. Now, I need your help to close my little sermon, because I believe there's somebody on your road having given up on prayer because God didn't answer it like they thought they should. I need your help to let them know that prayer works, because there is power still in prayer. Because you know for yourself that when you was in life and you had some ups and downs throughout life, that prayer got you through that stuff. When Satan started to invade your circle and mess up your world, it was prayer that got you through that thing. When your doctor's visit didn't go the way you thought it should, you know that it was prayer that got you up out of there and kept a smile on your face. You didn't know how you was going to make it from day to day, but one thing you knew is you knew how to pray. I wish I had some help right there. That you knew how to pray. And right in the midst of your circumstances, you started talking unto God. And in your time with God, you got enough strength to get up and keep on moving. Yes, sir. That is power in prayer. And I know some of y'all ain't got to think back that far, because you know just this last week, I almost lost my mind. I almost lost my religion. But I had to pray unto God that he would bridle my tongue. Because I almost cussed him out, but God said, no, you just hold on a minute. I almost slapped him at work, but God said, no, you just hold on a minute. I almost lost my mind. But when I started to pray to God, he started to work on me. Now I know that there's prayer. Power in prayer. Now your song is, I love the Lord because he heard my cry and pitied every groan. So long as I live and trouble rise, because you know it's going to come. I'm going to hasten. That means I'm going to hurry up and get on over to God's throne, because at the throne of God, there's some stuff that you need. And do I got a witness to know that when I get weak along the journey, I can go to the throne and gain some strength. But you got to get there in prayer. That when my life is all messed up, I can go through the throne and I can get some peace. But you got to go there through prayer, because prayer changes things. There is power in prayer. Because prayer brings us face to face with God. That prayer puts you in a position to where you can look God right in his face. That's why Nehemiah told God, open up your eyes and open up your ears, because I'm coming to you the most humble way that I know how, and that is through prayer. And since I'm coming to you the way that you want me to come to you, least you can do is look me in my face. And when God looks you in your eyes, he can see the sincerity of your prayer. And then he will answer. So, but you gotta pray. A prayerless Christian is a powerless Christian. Yeah. If you're only praying every now and then, you ain't got enough power to make it. But a prayerful Christian is a powerful Christian. That the more you pray, the more God gonna work. The less you pray, the less you're gonna be by yourself. And I don't know about you, but when I look at life, I need God every day of my life. And so therefore we have to pray all the time. So I encourage you, church, strengthen your prayer life. How do you strengthen your prayer life? Pray everywhere. Pray all the time. And pray with confidence. Because you know that God will move. And God will answer all of our prayers. So you just got to pray. If you're wondering what about tomorrow, don't worry about tomorrow. Because when you read the model prayer, God says, don't worry about that. You just say, God, give me this day. I ain't worried about tomorrow. I got a whole lot of trouble coming in this day. So give me this day everything that I need. In his prayer, the good thing about Nehemiah's prayer is notice who Nehemiah prayed to. He prayed straight to God. And in his prayer time with God, Nehemiah acknowledged who God is. And don't you know, if you don't know who God is, how you going to get a prayer to the right person?